We're back, guys. Oversteer TV, the podcast, the TV show, everything you want to talk about, our YouTube video, Spotify, everything. I'm Tony Castanera. There's Jeff Brown. Wave, Jeff. There you go.
I gave you thumbs up instead.
Oh, it was fun trying to get this all set up. And for some reason, my video is mirrored, so everything behind me is backwards. I don't know what's going on. Don't really care anymore. Oh, man.
That's the way I feel about it. Everything's backwards and I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Everything's going to caca, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it. And might as well just sit back and enjoy it, right? Just like you said, sit back and enjoy
Well, I'm at this point, I'm waiting to be deported. I'm sure they're coming for me after my last Facebook post.
Well, I put ice on my speed dial, so don't piss me off, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I think they're knocking at the door now. I'm like, next stop is El Salvador.
I will deport you to Orlando.
Yeah. I was born in Orlando. Maybe they'll deport me back to Orlando.
Oh, man. Oh, no, I wouldn't do that to you.
Hey, don't talk about Orlando.
Anyway, racing has been really weird lately. Well, not
Been
really
good.
weird. It's been good, but you go ahead. I got so much crap on my head right now. You go first. What do you? What happened in NASCAR?
I guess
by the way,
we'll start off with NASCAR.
Yeah,
it's been a while since we've done a podcast, so I guess the last one we did was after the Homestead race. And then Denny Hamlin won 2 in a row. He won at South Carolina, which is Darlington. And then he won the next race at his home track in Martinsville, Virginia. So Denny Hamlin is on a tear, still is on a tear. And then, of course, we got to Bristol, which is the Kyle Larson track, just like Homestead, and he totally dominated that race and won it. But Denny Hamlin still finished second, so I think, you know, the top 2 drivers that were competing for the championship a month or so ago, I would say it would be Christopher Bell and William Byron. But now I think it's transitioned to the old timers of Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. And with me, I think Kyle Larson has the upper hand because he's won a championship, and Denny Hamlin always finds a way to lose the championship right at the end of the season there at the playoffs. So right now, I think the upper hand goes to Kyle Larson to get another championship.
Right now, when it comes to NASCAR, it's Kyle Larson and everybody else.
Yeah.
Think about just pure talent out there. I don't even think anybody, even the NASCAR, is even in this league. Maybe there's some young guys in trucks or Xfinity coming up who might challenge them.
Well, the big thing at Martinsville was the Xfinity race where it was just I think they called it a dumpster fire. There was just no respect. They were just wrecking each other all over the place. The guy that won the race, I think, was Sammy Smith. Drives for Dale Earnhardt Jr. And of course he wrecked the guy on the last lap and went on to win the race, and that started a whole firestorm of drivers, these young drivers not showing respect to anyone. You know, it's not like they're not showing respect to the older drivers. They're just not showing respect to anybody. They think the fans want to see the wrecks, and they want to see that kind of driving. And to an extent, the fans do tune in for wrecks and things like that, but I don't think they want to see that kind of disrespect and that kind of out of control. They want to see good racing, which I think we got last week. I think we got really good racing, especially in the Formula One. I think Formula One, had the best race they've had all season, actually. I don't mean to pivot to Formula One here, but I really enjoyed that McLaren and Ferrari fight through that race. I mean, that was outstanding.
I'm going back to NASCAR because I have a great Miami Dolphins reference joke. You said Sammy Smith. Did he fumble it at the end?
Yeah, he fumbled it and they started the Sammy sucks chant in the stadium there.
Yeah, we're two old Miami Dolphin fans.
Which I was there. I was there for that day when he fumbled and they started the Sammy sucks chant. And then of course he went. I think he's still in prison actually.
I believe so. Poor guy. Uh,
Yeah, I felt sorry for him. Really, you know.
in any sport, when the fans get so okay, he messed up. He made a mistake. He made a couple. He made a lot of mistakes, but
Yeah, he was really bad.
but some fans just they lose grasp with reality, and they think that
Yeah.
with their team or their driver or whatever, if something happens, it affects them really. And
Right.
I mean,
They take it personal.
yeah, way too personal. And people forget that racing is entertainment. Okay. Um, these guys are trying as hard as they can. They want to win. We Sammy Smith didn't want to drop the ball. It just happened. Um,
I think Sammy Smith wrecked him on purpose because he wasn't going to win that race unless he did wreck him. And it's a sad state of affairs. And all the older drivers have all spoken up about it over the last couple of weeks about how these young drivers need to get their act together and start showing some respect for the sport, for the fans, for the other drivers. The whole thing. They're basically out of control.
you're not going to like this, but I just go, oh, look, old drivers don't want young guys threatening them, getting too close to them and beating them. So if they can't take the heat, get off the track, okay?
Yeah, I agree. And Kyle Larson answered that back by winning.
There you go.
That's how you solve that problem.
We're both old enough to know that when I was a kid, I had old guys telling me, "Oh, the drivers back then were real drivers. The drivers today are wussies." And then it's been like generation after generation. You hear the same old story, man. I remember when Jeff Gordon was coming out, the stuff I used to hear coming out of the stands being hurled at him. Now he's like, they
we go through cycles. I think we go through cycles, and we're going through that cycle in NASCAR where all these young Xfinity drivers that nobody's ever heard of, except that they're local short track in wherever, North Carolina or wherever. And they're coming up and they're trying to make a name for themselves. And we've got a lot of them. The whole Xfinity series is just a bunch of unknown young drivers. And even Formula One, what do they've got, like 6 rookies? I've never seen Formula One go into a season with 6 rookies. 1, 2, maybe 3 rookies, but 6?
That's
and they're bringing the teams down. Like Red Bull is suffering because they have, well, I guess they don't have a rookie.
They don't have a rookie anymore. And he's doing quite well. And some of the rookies have done well. What's his name? Antonelli for Mercedes is acquitting himself quite well. At the beginning,
but it's taken him a while. He's just over the last 2 races is where he started to show. Before that, he was just terrible.
Last week, everybody was ready to send Mick Doohan back packing for Alpine, but then this last weekend, he qualified well. He finished the race well. He made a lot of passes. Some of these, give him a couple of races, to get.
Yeah.
Before we do get an F1, you mentioned Homestead. I've been hearing more and more stuff. We talked about how they say that they're going to redo Homestead, remodel it, fix it up. I was looking at some more stuff. The NASCAR race was very disappointing, the attendance, apparently.
I predicted that, yeah.
They said it was probably one of the worst attended NASCAR races of the year. Probably for the year it's going to be, they said maybe 20,000, which is
yeah.
NASCAR.
And I predicted it. They moved him out of the playoffs. They moved him from the championship race. And, the Miami fan base for motorsports is like entirely Formula One. Nobody in Miami cares about NASCAR or the good old boys. I know we're in the South, but we're like another country down here. We're actually a third world country of Miami.
Well, the shortest state where the further south you go, the more northern it becomes.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like
last,
I said, once you get 1 mile north of Fort Lauderdale, it turns into Alabama.
yeah. Last weekend we had Formula E in town. I couldn't make it, unfortunately. Um, the attendance, they were kind of expecting not to have good attendance because they didn't promote it at all. Because I've heard from various people that they're talking to come back to Miami and to race the Formula One track at Hard Rock Stadium.
Hmm.
Even
Yeah, well, the marketing was not good.
no, well, the whole
I
thing is
mean,
Formula
it's
E
taking.
around the world is just not in the United States. Every place they go in the United States, it's been, they've raced in New York City, they've raced in Brooklyn, and they barely flew people. They went to the People's Republic of Portland. You figure Formula E race would be big there. No, it didn't draw people. They want to race. They want to be back in Miami. They took Homestead this year. They actually got like I think 4,000 or 5,000 people, which was kind of shocking to me. They were even kind of surprised they got so many. But they want to come back next year and race at Hard Rock Stadium using some of the Formula One course. They don't use the whole thing.
Well, that's going to be hard to do because all that Formula One track, except for the track itself, all the grandstands, all the concession, everything is all temporary. I mean, it is literally all even the pits, the pit road, the garages. Those are all temporary. Those are all tore down after Formula One weekend. They're put up 2 to 3 weeks before Formula One and then tore down immediately after. So if Formula E wants to come, they're going to have to do it the week before or the week after Formula One, because
they're talking within a couple of weeks of the Formula One race. You have the Dolphins. Well, the Dolphins will be done by the end of December. Unfortunately, then they set up the stadium for tennis.
Yeah, well, that's already basically done. The tennis courts are there.
Yeah.
They do one in the main stadium. Sometimes
They do that. They turn down. They're already getting ready for Formula One, and then after Formula One, there's really nothing going on at the stadium for like a month and a half. Nothing big, at least. And so they're saying they're hopefully trying to go for like a couple of weeks after F1 and use F1 to promote the Formula E.
right. And that's going to be tough because it's already hotter than Helena, Montana for the Formula One race. They're going to go 2 weeks after that. You're talking middle of summer, rainy season.
That's the other thing. Night race. It'll be a night race. If they come back and do it there, it'll be a night race.
And I think they could come back to Homestead if they did a night race. I think that would be much better attended. Okay. And they just need to do better marketing. They don't know how to market for Miami. That's their problem. They know how to market for North Carolina. They know how to market for Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't know how to market for Miami. And that's really made them suffer. And, they really want this Miami market, but the Miami market says, we don't want you.
I want to talk about Formula E itself. Those races in Europe or in Asia, those things are packed. They're sold out. Formula E just does not want to take off in the United States. Now, in the beginning, I understood the cars were slow. I mean, literally, the first couple of years, they raced like half the race and they had to stop and switch cars to drivers. It was stupid. But now they race the whole race. They're pretty fast. They're not Formula One fast. I mean, even though from 0 to 60, they're faster than a Formula One car now. But still, they're very quick cars. The racing, I saw the racing. There's some. You want wheel banging and you want some people racing. That's Formula E. But why won't it take? Is it the American mentality? Oh, it's electric cars, blue. The way everybody Americans have a thing against electric cars. You know that.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole MAGA mentality that they're going to be against anything that the left or progressives are for. They're going to automatically be against it, and they hold the majority right now. But like I said, and I guess a few shows ago, is I judge the economy by the attendance at NASCAR races. And that last NASCAR race was terrible. There was hardly anybody there, and that's a direct reflection of the economy. When people think the economy is good, whether they have the same amount of money, they have the same jobs, but if they're looking at the economy and they see that it's struggling and things are going bad, then they're going to stay home and save that money. But if they could have the same amount of money, the same job, and if the stock market's going up and everything's looking great, they're going to pack those stands, and that's just the way it is for NASCAR and the racing series in the United States. It's a direct reflection of the economy.
You mentioned with electric cars, the whole MAGA thing and every politics aside. I'm going to disagree with you because in Miami, I think it was yesterday, I went out and I went to this bakery, and the parking lot, I saw a couple of Teslas, a Rivian, Mach-E, a Ford electric one, and a Lucid. When was the last time you saw a Lucid?
Oh yeah, I think Miami has the most Teslas of any city in the United States. It's just you can't go down the street without hitting a Tesla.
2 weeks ago, I was up in New York. I was driving through New York City and Alamo, rent a car. Screw you for giving me that stupid Jeep wagon here when I wanted the mid-size luxury Audi. Anyway, driving through New York City, driving through all of the suburbs of New York too and everything, didn't see one Tesla. I didn't see any other. My daily driver, well, my state drivers, I've got our Toyota RAV4 hybrid. I think I saw only two hybrids, Toyota hybrids, all the time I was in New York. And so it's not with politics. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Just Americans just don't like electric cars in general. I don't get it.
Well, Miami, they love them. I see Cyber trucks, Teslas, everywhere.
Everywhere, and I think it's just a type of mentality. Like, I want a big V8. Everybody says, they want their big V8s and loud thing. How many people are driving cars with big V8s, American V8s, just anywhere? I mean,
well, the electric cars are definitely more efficient. I mean, you save a lot of money in fuel, but it's still the cost does not the price of the car does not justify the savings in gas.
Not yet, but they're getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, they get cheaper and cheaper. And everybody's talking about hydrogen, and until they can figure out how to produce hydrogen cheaply, the hydrogen's not going to happen either. Because basically every gas-powered car could be converted to hydrogen fairly easily. But the cost of producing hydrogen and the amount of energy that it takes is just not worth it.
But what do you think would take it to make? What would you do? You're Formula E. You want to be big in the United States. You want to break through the way Formula One did. What would you do?
Well, first of all, I would move to night races on Saturday nights, and then I would have super cheap tickets. I would have ticket giveaways. I would have your sponsors. Like I remember back in the IndyCar days. When Marlboro cigarettes, I know that's a thing of the past, but at that Miami race, Marlboro gave away 10 to 20,000 free tickets, and those grandstands were packed. And the same with it's the same marketing problems with NASCAR too. It's like the truck series on a Friday night, the stands are empty. Okay. So the solution is you get your sponsor. I think it's Craftsman Tools. You get them to put out enough money to print free tickets, pay the concession stand workers to show up on a Friday night, just that amount of money, and you'll pack the grandstands. If you give away free tickets, people will show up. And what happens is they'll show up for that Friday night race with their free tickets, and they're going to love it because, in my opinion, the trucks put on the best show. And they're going to turn around and say, "Look, we had a great time. Let's come back on Sunday and watch." And then they'll go purchase a ticket for the Sunday race and come back and either Saturday or Sunday. And so by giving the free tickets, you're just expanding your fan base and creating more sales for you, the races that come after.
Okay, but you're talking NASCAR, which has a race almost every weekend for 30 weeks of the year in the United States. Formula E has, I forgot, I think it's like a 14 race season now. And they might have one, maybe two, but this year they're going to have one race in the United States.
Yeah.
Giving tickets for them to show up to Homestead, whoop-de-doo. They might get another 5,000-10,000 people in the stands, but how's that going to bring in the TV numbers? How's it going to make it popular? How's it going to make somebody from Des Moines go, hey, Formula E is cool. I'm going to start watching that. It's like even Formula One. There are only 3 Formula One races in the United States.
Yeah. Well, you have to make it an event.
Yeah.
Like I said,
last weekend, Long Beach got 550,000 people on network TV on Fox Network to watch their race. That same morning, I think it was 11 o'clock in the morning on ESPN2, the Deuce, Formula One got 1.27 million people.
Right.
That's over 2.5 times what IndyCar got. People all around the United States, they're never going to go to a Formula One race. You have race in Miami, Vegas, and in Texas.
But I think that you're comparing apples and oranges. I compare it to how many viewers that the IndyCar had last year as compared to this year since they moved to Fox. I think those numbers are up as compared to their numbers from last year. If you're going to compare it to Formula One, that's, Formula One is global, international, whereas IndyCar is, basically an American sport.
USA Network. Nobody watched it. Okay, it is up, but 550,000 people on network TV a Sunday afternoon. I don't care what that is. That is horrible. Okay, St. Pete got over 1 million earlier in the year. Everybody tuned in to watch St. Pete and then realized, I'm not going to watch this anymore. This is the Long Beach.
Well, there again, it's the names. We don't have big names. We don't have Andretti. We don't have Rutherford. We don't have the big names of the past.
And this was Long Beach, which is like the second biggest race of the season after the Indy 500. So,
yeah.
I could go on and on. Why is it every time we do the show, we have to talk bitching about how bad IndyCar is being run?
Well, IndyCar's got the same problem with young drivers, no-name young drivers that are trying to make a name for themselves. And the Long Beach race was a good race to start with, but then by the end of it, it was kind of dominated by one driver. There wasn't a lot of passing. These city street courses that are very narrow, very hard to pass. As a race fan, I want to see passing. I want to see overtakes. I want to see wheel-to-wheel action. And you don't get that at Long Beach at all, really.
It's one of those things. Every race can't be exciting. Sometimes you're going to have a race, especially in a road course or a street course. Sometimes you're going to have a race where, some guy, Kirkwood owned that race. That was his race. He was on pole. He just ran away with the race. And same thing with F1 last weekend. Piastri won pole. Nobody was going to beat him, unless they messed up at a pit stop or something. Nobody was going to beat him. The rest of the race was great, but everybody behind him, that was a great race. Watching Norris mess up all weekend was hilarious to me. Everybody was ready to give him the World Driving Championship, and Piastri's a better driver. I mean, the guy qualified 5th. He had the fastest car on track, and he qualified 5th. He blew that, and then he couldn't even line up for the start right.
Yeah. Well, that penalty there at the start got him, but that was just great racing between Norris and Leclerc there. The Ferrari and the McLaren was a lot of fun to watch. That was good racing. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
This weekend they're in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Saudi.
That must be grueling for them to go from. Where were they before? Last weekend was Bahrain. Before that, they go from Japan to Bahrain to Saudi Arabia in 3 weeks. I mean, people in NASCAR complain about driving across country. Can you imagine this?
Well, Formula One flies it all in. They just load everything up on a big giant 747 and fly it over.
containers and stuff. But still, that's not easy, man. That's not easy. And what you call it? You know, and even in NASCAR, yeah, the race is over. They pack up the stuff, they load the truck, then they all hop on a plane and they go home. It's the poor truck driver has to drive across the country. You know? So.
I think the truck drivers, the haulers, they're some of the most talented drivers out there.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those guys when you go. If you ever get a chance and you go to a NASCAR race or an IndyCar race, something like that, when they're doing the load in into the track, usually in the midfield, and you see these guys with the trucks backing them in, and they're like this close to each other, just like boom, 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 boom.
They pull it in there perfectly.
You know, this ain't no supermarket. You know, these are just they just boom. No, but
yeah, those truck drivers are super talented.
I don't know. We've been going to races decades now. Never seen one of those trucks get in hit another truck in the paddock, ever. It's never
ever.
I've seen
never seen one parked crooked either. They're parked perfectly straight.
Yeah.
On the first try.
I've seen other accidents in the paddock. Never seen those truck drivers get into an accident ever. And the big teams, I love it. It's like watch when Penske pulls into the track and they park their thing. Then like a team of guys come out and the first thing they do is wash the truck and polish
it. I think they wash the truck before they pull in. Yeah. I remember the first time I saw the Penske truck came in, it was just shining, sparkly, not a speck of dirt. They pulled in there and parked that truck and got out and started washing it again. I'm like, it's not dirty. It's the cleanest truck I've ever seen. I think they stop right outside the track and polish it.
I believe it.
And then come in and do it again.
You could eat off their tires. I mean, the things
it's just crazy.
Brand new, and they ain't got no recaps on those things. That's for sure.
And that's how the whole Penske team, how they used to operate anyway. I don't know what they're doing now, but the whole Penske team, from the trucks to the drivers to the cars, every one of them just immaculate all the time.
The IndyCar team's not doing that good, not doing that well this year. In IMSA, they've won every race. They're 3-0, which is amazing in endurance racing.
Yeah.
But other than that,
well, the Andretti team won Long Beach.
Long Beach.
So they're. But where is Michael Andretti? I did not see him anywhere. I haven't seen him in a long time. Ever since Formula One said no Andretti, I haven't seen or heard from Michael Andretti in a long time.
He's officially out. He doesn't own the team anymore. I think he only owns like 10% of it anymore. I forgot the new guy who took it over. Well, the guy bought in a couple of years ago, and then finally Andretti. That was like his last gasp to get for that team to come about, because they just didn't want to deal with Michael Andretti, and so.
And I still don't understand it. What he did. He obviously did something that we don't know about, but
he went in there and.
It goes all the way back to when he was a Formula One driver, and I think he struggled. And I think he maybe badmouthed them, and they still haven't gotten over it.
Word is that when they first started to do the team, you go, okay, you guys are going to take me. I'm an Andretti, right? And they're like saying, hold on, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars here. Let's think it through. And he started talking to people and saying the wrong things to the wrong people, and bad mouthing the series and saying they're, not the right things. And then it came down to the Miami Grand Prix a couple of years ago where he was there. And it's a rumor that Mario literally had to pull Michael out of a meeting because he started cussing out a lot of the team owners.
Wow.
And they just told him that, hey, it ain't happening. And so he sold part of the team to this guy, and he kept on giving more and more. And then finally, he just gave up the team. He sold everything, gave up the team, and this new guy did it. And that's all transferred into the Cadillac team that we come in.
Yeah. Formula One, but it's still Andretti and IndyCar and other series, right? He's still in Formula E, right?
That's the other guy took over. Andretti. It's called Andretti International now.
Yeah.
I think Michael only has like 10% of it. He's like, He has nothing to do with the team. No show. He showed up at St. Pete, didn't show up to his last race. For fun is what's fun. It comes to the room. They got the best rumors.
Well, we got Homestead coming up in a couple weeks. Not Homestead, Miami, Hard Rock Stadium.
This week, Saudi Arabia, and a couple weeks after that comes the Miami Grand Prix. We'll try to get credentials. They'll tell us no because we're not cool enough, I guess. But hey, you never know. Worth a shot, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then I think this week NASCAR is off, and then the following week they're going to be at Talladega, which is one of my favorite tracks.
That's always a fun
The
race.
biggest closed course track in the world, basically, or in the United States anyway. There might be a bigger track somewhere else. But
Two favorite NASCAR oval races. I like Atlanta. And I like Talladega. So.
Yeah, having troubles hearing you. Your mic seems to be cutting in and out a little bit.
I'll speak a little louder, but we're done anyway. So everybody like us, subscribe, click like, give us some comments, say some nasty things to us. Make fun of me. Don't make fun of Jeff. It will hurt him. It'll crush him. But you can make fun of me all you want. So we'll see you next week.
And see you in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see you there.
For Formula One.
Take it easy.